In the hyper-competitive world of Formula One, every seat on the grid is precious. Drivers dedicate their entire lives to reaching the pinnacle of motorsport, but for most, the dream remains just that, a dream. This is why the debate around Lance Stroll's place at Aston Martin is one of the most persistent and divisive in the sport.
Welcome to F1 News Inside the F1. We are diving immediately into the deepest, most competitive controversy on the grid today.
That's right. And frankly, it's the one that really holds the key to the future of a team that wants to win a championship.
The news is, of course, all about Aston Martin and that unrelenting question mark hanging over one name, Lance Stroll.
Is he performing at that elite level they need for a championship push? I mean, that's the question. Or is his seat the one exception in all of Formula One where, talent might take a backseat to his father's ownership stake?
It is the elephant in the garage, and you, the listener, you need the clear facts cut straight from the drama.
So our mission today is to give you that measured analysis. We're going to look at the case for him and, the pretty undeniable case against him.
And we'll do that by looking at the hard performance data and forecasting the intense pressure that's building right now, especially with that crucial 2026 regulation reset just around the corner.
Okay, so we have to start with the unavoidable tag, right? The pay driver perception.
You have to.
In F1, where every single seat is scrutinized, Stroll has a level of job security that is, it's unheard of.
Right. And look, we have to be clear. He is talented. You do not make it to Formula One without some serious talent.
Of course not. But that tag, it fuels the whole argument against him, which is his significant inconsistency, especially when you compare him to every strong teammate he's ever had.
Inconsistency. That is the word that just sticks to him. And let's not be abstract here. Let's use the data points that critics are always hammering on about.
Okay, where do you want to start?
Let's start with qualifying. If you look at his record, particularly against Fernando Alonso last season, that gap is it's too big.
It is. Statistically, across multiple seasons, if you average out the dry qualifying sessions, he's consistently trailing his teammate. And the margin is often around 0.3 of a second.
0.3.
0.3. And in today's F1 grid, that is the difference between starting, say, P7 and starting P12.
It's huge.
It sounds small, but over a 20-plus race calendar, that gap mathematically loses the team dozens and dozens of crucial points. It messes with strategy. It affects tire life. I mean, it puts the team's top driver under immense pressure to basically carry the whole constructors' fight on his own.
But let's pause. We have to pause here because you can't just dismiss the moments of genuine, undeniable brilliance. They prove the man can really drive.
Absolutely. When Stroll is on, he is absolutely on. You have to bring up that pole position at the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix.
A masterclass.
It was a masterclass. Those were treacherous, wet conditions. The track was basically an ice rink. You cannot buy that kind of feel for a car. You just can't.
No. A driver without profound natural skill does not put a car on pole in Formula One. End of story.
And rewind even further to his rookie season. That podium in Baku.
Another great example.
These are concrete achievements.
Yeah.
They totally silence the argument that he doesn't belong in F1 at all. But, and this is the big bet.
Here's the analytical challenge, right?
Exactly. These flashes, which prove his potential, are so often followed by these long, almost agonizing periods where he just goes anonymous. He'll qualify poorly, or he'll make a costly error on Sunday that just wipes out the whole team's race.
So the problem isn't his peak performance, his ceiling.
Now, the problem isn't the ceiling of his raw pace. It's the floor of his average performance. It's just too low, too often.
And after so many seasons in the sport, he's not a rookie anymore. That fundamental gap in consistent speed to the top guys on the grid, it's still there.
You watch the George Russells, the Lando Norrises. They hit that high-performance benchmark almost every single weekend. For Stroll, that level of consistency just hasn't. It hasn't shown up.
Which leads us to the critical question Aston Martin has to be asking itself.
Yeah.
Has he reached a performance ceiling that is just too low for a team that wants to win the Constructors' title?
And that right there, that brings us to the Constructors' crux.
Let's shift the analysis to the Aston Martin mandate, because this is not a midfield team happy with 5th place.
No way. Lawrence Stroll has backed this team with, it's a massive investment. A brand new state-of-the-art factory, a new wind tunnel, and that crucial Works Honda engine deal for 2026.
They are building a team to fight for the championship, the whole thing.
Then that is the crux of the dilemma. To win the driver's title, you need one exceptional driver. Fine. But to win the Constructors' Championship, you absolutely need two drivers consistently scoring huge points. It's mandatory now.
Why is that so crucial right now more than ever?
Because the midfield is impossibly tight. This isn't the 90s where the top two teams were miles ahead of everyone. Now, the difference between P6 and P11 can be, fractions of a tenth.
Right.
So if one driver, like Alonso, is scoring P3s and P4s, but your second driver is consistently running P9, P10, or worse, out of the points, you are just bleeding points to your rivals.
To teams like Ferrari or McLaren, who almost always have two drivers scoring big every single weekend.
Exactly. A strong P5 or P6 finish might feel a bit underwhelming, but those are the points that decide the constructor's title in a close fight. If Aston Martin builds a title contending car, and one driver is always half a second off the pace,
You're just gifting points away.
You're gifting points away. It makes winning the team title almost mathematically impossible, no matter how brilliant your lead driver is.
So as the team gets closer to the front, that spotlight on Stroll is just going to get brighter and brighter, isn't it?
Exponentially brighter.
Yeah.
Every poor qualifying, every moment he's slower than his teammate, it's logged and analyzed by the engineers who know exactly how many millions of dollars that performance gap is costing them.
So this all begs the question, what's the external judgment? Outside the Aston Martin bubble, what do rival teams think?
And our sources give us a very telling piece of information here.
Which is?
No other F1 team has ever shown serious, sustained interest in signing Lance Stroll.
Wow.
That is maybe the clearest sign that rival team principals just don't see him as a driver who can fundamentally lift a team up.
You contrast his career with peers who debuted around the same time, like Lando Norris, George Russell, Charles Leclerc.
And those guys almost immediately became targets for other top teams. They demonstrated market value. They demonstrated sustained, elite pace. Stroll just hasn't commanded that same level of interest.
That's a tough pill to swallow for his supporters. But okay, before we completely write him off, let's pivot. Let's look at the internal defense, the arguments that kind of contradict all this external skepticism.
We have to provide balance because the argument for keeping him isn't just, a family one. There are real institutional benefits.
Like what?
He provides absolute stability, deep continuity for the engineers. He's been part of this team through its whole evolution, from Force India to Racing Point, and now to Aston Martin.
That institutional knowledge is valuable.
Invaluable, especially for car development when you're trying to correlate data from the simulator to what's happening on the track.
And we also need to shut down a couple of negative narratives that have been following him around in the media.
Right. First, those rumors that he'd lost motivation or was even thinking about retiring.
Yeah, that he was maybe being pressured by his father.
That claim, which I think came from an unnamed Brazilian pundit, was just flatly denied, laughed off by Stroll himself. He said, there's no plan to do that. It just seems like media speculation.
Okay, but here is the detail that really complicates the whole story. The one that forces you to reconsider everything. The surprising support from one of the sport's most respected minds.
We're talking about Adrian Newey.
The design genius of F1. When he publicly comments on a driver, you have to listen.
You really do. And Newey has publicly defended Stroll more than once. He said Stroll gets an unfairly bad rap and that he's much better than people think.
That's not just casual praise. That's a huge public endorsement that just flies in the face of what other teams seem to think.
So how do you reconcile those two things? If other teams don't rate him, why is the single most important technical mind in the sport, a guy who can literally pick any project he wants, publicly backing him?
Is there something in the data, in his feedback, that we're all missing from the outside?
I think Newey's comments suggest exactly that. He noted that reports from early 2025 said he was positively surprised by Stroll's work ethic and energy. So maybe Stroll's value isn't just in the raw qualifying pace we can all see.
But in his commitment to that development feedback loop.
That's a fascinating angle, isn't it? In modern F1, where car development never stops, a driver who gives precise, consistent, useful feedback is worth his weight in gold.
So if Newey believes Stroll is essential to helping refine the car's setup and direction, that completely shifts the equation.
It does. It suggests he has this hidden value that the market, which only looks at the big headline results, is overlooking. But at the end of the day,
that value has to translate into points on the board.
Especially as we head towards 2026.
Let's look there then. The critical 2026 prediction. The reality is, as long as Lawrence Stroll owns the team, replacing his son is highly, highly unlikely.
And doing so would cause just immense internal disruption, a huge risk.
But the team's ambitions are now colliding head-on with that family loyalty. The 2026 regulation change is a massive technical overhaul. It's a total reset. This is the moment for the Aston Martin project.
And by extension, for Stroll's career. The new Works Honda engine deal is the centerpiece of all of this. Honda is a proven winner.
So if Aston Martin produces a championship contending car in 2026, and that is the entire point of every dollar they've invested,
then the stakes for Lance Stroll will reach an all-time high.
if that car is capable of winning races and championships, every single point Stroll drops will be magnified tenfold.
And if he struggles to match his teammate in a title-winning machine, the calls for change won't just come from the media and the fans anymore.
They'll come from inside the team.
Crucially, yes.
Yeah.
From the technical and strategic people who know they're sacrificing a championship because of that performance gap.
So what does this all mean for you, watching this whole thing unfold? If Stroll can rise to the occasion, if he silences the critics and performs at a high level under the new regulations, he cements his place. He validates the investment.
But if that gap is still there, the pursuit of the constructor's title becomes this ultimate moral test for the whole organization. Can family loyalty really withstand the gravitational pull of a world championship?
So to summarize, the debate isn't really about whether Lance Stroll is talented. He's proven he can be very fast.
The debate is whether he has that sustained, week-in, week-out consistency that's required for a team that is dedicated to winning the Constructors' Championship, a title that demands two top-tier drivers.
Okay, here's the final provocative thought we'll leave you with.
Stroll has been handed maybe the best possible foundation in the sport's history to succeed. Massive investment, a world-class factory, a works engine deal, and a public champion in Adrian Newey.
So if, with all of that in place, he still fails to consistently perform under the 2026 regulations,
will the team's overriding goal winning the Constructors' title finally be powerful enough to supersede his father's loyalty, even with all the internal chaos that would cause? It's a unique intersection of money, ambition, and talent that F1 has never really seen before.